Think you know England's parks? Think again. Beneath peaceful fields and playgrounds lie dark secrets, restless spirits, eerie whispers, and chilling encounters haunting long after the sun sets. 1. Cassiobury Park, Watford. The man in grey by the canal. It's just a park, they say. Trees, grass, dogs running free. But Cassiobury doesn't forget, and neither does he. At first glance, Cassiobury Park is the picture of suburban calm. Rolling green fields, ancient oak trees, and a canal that cuts quietly through the landscape. It's a sanctuary for joggers, dog walkers, and families. But walk alone here at dusk, especially in winter, and you might feel something else. The land was once part of the Cassiobury estate, home to the Earls of Essex. The original manor house stood nearby for centuries, until it was demolished in the 1920s. But old foundations don't always go quietly. Locals speak of a presence in the park, something that lingers near the Grand Union Canal. They call him the man in grey. Always standing, always silent, always watching. In the 1980s, a park warden was locking up near the canal just after sunset. As he turned to walk back toward the lodge, he saw a man on the towpath, grey coat, tall, still. He called out, thinking it was a lost visitor. No reply. He stepped closer. The man turned his head and vanished. Not walked away, not ran, just gone. Since then, others have reported similar sightings. A flash of movement by the water, the chill of air without wind, dogs suddenly growling at nothing. One woman swore she felt someone brush past her shoulder, but when she turned, no one was there. Only the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps behind her, fading into silence. And then there are the whispers. Soft, just beyond hearing. Some say it's the wind. Others say it's something trying to be heard, something left unfinished. One child told his mother he saw a man with no eyes standing by the old oak. He waved at the boy. The boy didn't wave back. Theories vary. Some believe it's the ghost of a canal worker who drowned in the 19th century. Others link it to soldiers stationed here during the war, men who never made it home. A few even claim there's an older curse tied to the estate grounds themselves, but no one really knows. What they do know is this. The sightings always happen around the same time, just as the last light leaves the trees and the canal turns to shadow. So, if you ever find yourself walking Cassiobury Park after hours and you see someone ahead on the towpath, don't follow. And whatever you do, don't let him see you stop. 2. Paultons Park, Hampshire. The forgotten girl of the forest. They say laughter fills the park, but after dark, sometimes it's not the kind you want to hear. Tucked away in the Hampshire countryside, Paultons Park is best known today for its roller coasters, families, and the beloved Peppa Pig attractions. But long before the rides, gift shops, and cheerful music, this land told a far darker story. Locals still recall the thick, tangled woods that once swallowed sound on this site. And deep within those trees, according to whispered village tales, lived a young girl. No one knew her name. Some say she appeared after the war, pale and barefoot, watching silently from the tree line. Others believe she had always been there, unseen but ever present. What everyone agrees on is this: she was always alone, always quiet, until she wasn't. Before construction began in the late 1970s, strange reports surfaced. Builders spoke of tools mysteriously vanishing, ladders shifting places, and then the laughter. Not mechanical laughter, not animals, but the clear, eerie giggle of a child echoing from the forest. One night, a worker stayed late and claimed to see a little girl standing at the edge of the woods. She stared at him silently. Thinking she was lost, he called out. But she only smiled, then turned and walked straight into a tree. Not around it. Into it. He never returned. Since the park opened, quiet reports have continued. Security guards hear footsteps long after closing. Visitors glimpse a child in old-fashioned clothes near the Lost Kingdom rides, only for her to vanish when they look again. Gift shop staff say toys are sometimes moved overnight. Always dolls, always pointed toward the trees. One chilling story comes from a mother who visited with her son. He asked her why the girl in the trees wouldn't stop staring. "What girl?" she asked. "The one in the trees," he whispered. "She keeps laughing." Most leave Paultons Park with happy memories, but some leave with unanswered questions about the flicker in the corner of their eye, the sudden cold breeze, or the laughter that didn't come from any ride. So if you ever hear laughter from the trees at Paultons Park, hold your child's hand tight and don't look back. 3. Bramham Park, Wetherby, West Yorkshire. The rider who never reaches home. They say if you wait at the gates after midnight, you might see a lone horseman, riding fast, fleeing something or someone. But he never makes it home. Set deep in the Yorkshire countryside, Bramom Park is a vision of aristocratic grandeur. With its baroque mansion, sweeping drives, and perfectly trimmed gardens, it seems timeless, untouched. But beauty, as they say, often hides the blood beneath. Built in the early 1700s, Bramham Hall has seen war, duels, scandal, and ruin. Yet one story lingers more than the rest, whispered among estate staff, nearby villagers, and those who've dared to stay the night. It begins with a rider. A stable boy working on the estate sometime in the 1800s reportedly heard hoofbeats in the early hours, fast, frantic. He rushed to the stables thinking a horse had escaped, but instead he saw a rider approaching the gate at full speed, the horse's eyes wild, the rider cloaked in black. As the boy stepped forward, the figure simply disappeared, feet from the gate. The boy never spoke again, not one word. He left Bramham within the week. Since then, reports of the Black Rider have persisted. Always seen, just after midnight, always silent, always alone. Gamekeepers talk of hoof prints in the frost, leading nowhere. One gardener claimed he found a riding glove buried in a rose bed. Leather, hand-stitched, rotten with age. It vanished the next day. Some say he was a messenger during the Jacobite uprisings, caught on Bramham land and executed in secret. Others believe he was a nobleman fleeing a duel, only to be shot in the back by his rival. The story changes, but the presence stays the same. Visitors walking the estate's woodland trails have heard a galloping horse nearby, though no animals are kept on those grounds today. One couple, celebrating their anniversary at a nearby hotel, said they saw a figure on horseback, standing still in the mist, then rising on two legs before vanishing completely. But perhaps the strangest part is the silence. No neigh, no rider's shout, just hooves, thunderous, echoing hooves, and then nothing. The estate now hosts events, festivals, weddings, but some vendors and staff refuse to stay after dark. One caterer was found sitting outside the main hall at 3 a.m., shaking. "He was in the mirror," she whispered, "behind me, watching." So, if you ever find yourself walking the long, straight path up to Bramham Hall and you hear hooves pounding behind you, don't turn around, because if you see him, he sees you too. 4. Warmwell Holiday Park, Dorset. The vanishing camper. They say the holiday is meant to be a break from reality, but at Warmwell, some visitors never really check out. Nestled along the Jurassic coast, Warmwell Holiday Park is a beloved spot for families, campers, and holidaymakers looking to escape into Dorset's stunning natural beauty. By day, it's a haven of laughter, barbecue smoke, and children running free. But when the sun dips below the horizon, the park seems to hold its breath. For decades, local tales have told of a camper who disappeared without a trace. Not lost on the footpaths, not taken by the sea, simply vanished. The story goes back to the 1970s, when a young man arrived at Warmwell for a week's camping holiday. He was friendly, polite, the kind of visitor you'd expect to see pitching a tent near the woods. But after the first night, the campers around him noticed strange things. His campfire was often still burning at dawn, even though no one had been seen tending it. His tent appeared empty, no footprints were found around it, and most chillingly, faint, desperate knocking sounds were heard coming from the tree line. One evening, a group of teenagers dared to investigate. They followed the knocking deep into the woods and found nothing. No person, no tent, no sign of life except for the sound itself, slow, hollow knocks echoing off the trees. The next morning, the young man was gone. His belongings remained untouched, but there was no sign he had packed or left. The local police were called, but despite a thorough search, no trace was ever found. Since then, campers claim to hear those same knocking sounds on quiet nights, especially when the fog rolls in thick from the coast. Others have reported seeing a shadowy figure wandering between the tents, flickering like a candle flame. Some say the spirit belongs to that young man, trapped between worlds, forever seeking a way back home. Others believe it's a warning, a restless presence tied to the ancient land beneath the park, where long-forgotten secrets lie buried. Seasoned campers learn quickly: never answer the knocking, don't follow it into the dark woods, and if you feel a sudden chill, especially near the tree line, be thankful you're still alive. Warmwell Holiday Park may look like any other holiday destination, but at night, it's a place where the past refuses to stay buried. 5. The Highams Park, London. The Lady in White by the Lake. They say if you walk by the lake at dusk, you might catch a glimpse of a figure dressed all in white, but if you blink, she's gone. Highams Park, tucked away in the northeast corner of London, is a sprawling green space beloved by locals for its serene lake, ancient trees, and peaceful walking trails. But beneath its calm surface lies a haunting tale that has been whispered for generations. The legend tells of the Lady in White, a mysterious apparition said to haunt the waterside on misty evenings. No one knows who she was exactly, but many believe she was a woman who lost her life tragically by the lake over a century ago. Locals recount eerie encounters. One elderly man recalled walking his dog late one autumn evening when he saw a pale figure standing motionless by the water's edge. She wore a flowing white dress, her hair shimmering in the fading light. When he tried to speak, she vanished without a sound. Since then, countless visitors have reported sightings of her ghostly form drifting silently among the reeds. Some say she's searching for something or someone. Others feel an overwhelming sadness, as if the air itself carries her grief. Fishermen on the lake have sometimes felt an unnatural chill settle over the water, their lines tugged by unseen forces. Joggers speak of hearing soft footsteps behind them, only to find the path empty when they look back. One of the most chilling stories comes from a young couple picnicking near the boathouse. As twilight fell, they saw the Lady in White glide across the lake's surface, her figure glowing faintly in the moonlight. The woman froze in fear. The man captured a blurry photo, only to find the image distorted with strange shadows. Some say the lady in white is a remnant of a love lost too soon. Others believe she's a warning, a spirit trapped between worlds. Whatever the truth, the people of Highams Park know this. If you're there after dark and you see a figure in white standing by the lake, don't approach, and whatever you do, don't call her name. 6. Adastral Park, Martlesham, Suffolk, the silent watcher of the airfield. They say the skies here once held secrets beyond this world, but the real mystery isn't above, it's lurking just beyond the runway. Adastral Park, located in the quiet village of Martlesham, Suffolk, is today known as a cutting-edge technology hub. But long before the glass offices and satellite dishes, this land was part of an old airfield, and with it comes a story that still sends chills down the spine of those who work here. Legend has it that during World War II, pilots stationed at Martlesham Heath Airfield experienced strange occurrences that defied explanation. One figure, known only as the Silent Watcher, was said to haunt the perimeter of the airfield, especially near the old control tower. The Watcher appeared as a tall, shadowy man in a faded uniform, standing perfectly still, watching the skies, the planes, the men. No one ever heard his voice, no one saw him move. Just an eerie presence, watching. Decades later, employees at Adastral Park began to notice strange phenomena. Security cameras sometimes captured unexplained shadows near the tree line. Radios would crackle with static, even when off, and late at night, some reported hearing faint footsteps and whispered commands echoing through empty corridors. One technician, working late on a foggy evening, swore he saw the silhouette of a pilot standing silently by the airstrip fence. When he called out, the figure vanished into the mist, leaving only the distant roar of an invisible plane overhead. Others have reported feeling watched, a prickling sensation on the back of the neck, or glimpsing a figure in uniform reflected in glass doors when no one is behind them. Many believe the Silent Watcher is the restless spirit of a pilot who never returned from a mission, condemned to guard the skies forevermore, a guardian or perhaps a warning. So, if you find yourself walking the grounds of Adastral Park after hours, especially when the fog rolls in thick, beware the gaze of the Silent Watcher. Because some eyes never close, and some watch forever. 7. Ellington Park, Ramsgate, Kent. The whispering trees of Ellington Park, they say the trees here remember everything, and on quiet nights, if you listen closely, you can hear their secrets whispered on the wind. Ellington Park, nestled in the seaside town of Ramsgate, is known for its lush greenery and tranquil paths. But for generations, locals have spoken of an unusual phenomenon. The trees in Ellington don't just sway in the breeze, they speak. Stories tell of visitors who have heard faint voices carried on the wind, soft whispers that seem to come from the ancient oaks and elms lining the park's winding trails. Sometimes it sounds like a conversation, other times it's a solitary voice calling out a name or murmuring a warning. One elderly resident recalled walking through the park late one autumn evening when the wind suddenly fell silent. Then, from the shadows, a clear voice called her first name. Frozen in place, she searched for the source, but only the rustling leaves answered back. Children playing in the park have sometimes told their parents of invisible friends who appear near the old wooden benches and vanish when approached. Others speak of seeing flickering lights weaving through the trees, like will-o'-the-wisps guiding lost souls. The history of the land might explain some of these strange happenings. Ellington Park sits on grounds once part of a medieval burial site, with old legends warning against disturbing the earth. Some believe the spirits of the past have made the trees their guardians, whispering warnings to protect their resting place. At dusk, when the park is nearly empty and the air is thick with mist, the whispers grow louder. Visitors report feeling watched, as if unseen eyes peer from between the branches. One popular tale tells of a young soldier who vanished during World War I, said to wander the park searching for his lost love. On foggy nights, some say you can hear his faint footsteps pacing the pathways, accompanied by the soft murmur of a woman's voice. Whether spirit or nature, the whispers of Ellington Park remain a mystery, one that draws those who seek answers to come closer and listen. So next time you wander through Ellington's trees, pause for a moment and lean in. You might just hear the past reaching out in the language of the wind. 8. Sir Thomas and Lady Dixon Park, Belfast. The Lady in the Rose Garden. The roses bloom every year, but sometimes, when the dusk falls, a pale figure drifts silently between the beds, her sorrow as fresh as the morning dew. Sir Thomas and Lady Dixon Park is one of Belfast's most cherished green spaces, famed for its beautiful rose gardens that attract visitors from all over. But beneath the colour and fragrance lies a tale as delicate and haunting as the petals themselves. Locals have long spoken of a ghostly lady who appears among the roses after sunset. Known simply as the Lady in White, she is said to be the spirit of a woman who once tended the gardens but met a tragic fate. The story dates back to the early 1900s, when a young gardener's assistant named Mary worked tirelessly under Lady Dixon's direction. Mary was known for her love of roses and her quiet kindness. But one fateful night, while working late, she was caught in a terrible accident in the garden. Since then, visitors strolling near the rose beds at twilight have reported seeing a figure clad in white gliding silently between the blooms, her face pale and eyes filled with sadness. Some say she's searching for a lost love or protecting the gardens she cared for so deeply. One witness, a local horticulturist, described a chilling encounter. "I was pruning near the western edge when I felt a sudden drop in temperature. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her, a woman in flowing white, barely touching the ground. When I looked directly, she vanished like mist." Photographers have attempted to capture her image, often coming away with blurred or distorted photos, a pale shape, or a flicker of movement where nothing should be. Some say the Lady in White's sorrow is tied to a secret romance. Others believe she is simply a guardian's spirit, forever bound to the rose garden she loved. Today, the park remains a place of beauty and peace, but as the sun sets, those with keen eyes and open hearts know to tread softly, for the Lady in White may be watching, tending to her roses in the fading light. So next time you wander through Sir Thomas and Lady Dixon Park at dusk, pause by the rose garden. If you're lucky or unlucky, you might just meet her. 9. Upton Court Park, Slough, Berkshire. The echoes of Upton Court. They say the walls here remember more than just the footsteps of visitors. They echo the past, whispering stories long forgotten. Upton Court Park in Slough is a charming green space surrounded by suburban homes, popular with families and dog walkers. But beneath its calm and everyday appearance lies a history soaked in mystery and lingering spirits. The park sits near the site of the old Upton Court Manor, a stately home that stood for centuries before being demolished in the early 20th century. According to local law, the manor's spirit never quite left the grounds. Visitors to the park have reported strange sensations, sudden chills, unexplained noises, and fleeting shadows moving just beyond the trees. Some swear they've heard footsteps echoing along empty paths, as if someone invisible walks beside them. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a park ranger who worked nights during the late 1990s. He described hearing the faint sound of piano music drifting through the air, even though no instruments or players were nearby. Several walkers have spoken of ghostly figures glimpsed at the edges of the park. A woman in Victorian dress wandering the tree line, a man in a suit standing silently near the old oak. When approached, they vanish without a trace. The most persistent story tells of a young girl seen playing near the pond. She appears on foggy mornings wearing a faded white dress, her laughter echoing softly, but when visitors turn, she's nowhere to be found. Historians speculate that these spirits may be remnants of the manor's former inhabitants, caught between worlds after the house was torn down. Today, Upton Court Park is a peaceful place, but those who visit after dusk might sense that some memories and some souls remain. If you ever find yourself walking through Upton Court on a misty evening, listen carefully for the echoes of the past. You might just hear the manor's secrets calling out. 10. Hyde Park, London. The phantom carriage of Hyde Park. If you wander Hyde Park after dark, you might hear the clatter of hooves and the creak of wheels, but no horse or carriage will be in sight. Hyde Park, one of London's most famous and sprawling green spaces, is a place of history, beauty, and countless stories. But hidden beneath its well-trodden paths and serene lakes is a chilling legend of a phantom carriage that haunts the park after nightfall. The tale dates back to the 18th century, when horse-drawn carriages were a common sight along the park's gravel avenues. According to legend, a carriage driver lost control of his horses on a stormy night and crashed into a tree, tragically dying on impact. Since then, locals and late-night walkers have reported hearing the unmistakable sounds of a horse-drawn carriage, the rhythmic pounding of hooves, the creaking wheels, even though the roads are empty and silent. One witness, a security guard patrolling late one autumn evening, recalled, "I heard the horse's hooves before I saw anything. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught the faint outline of a carriage speeding past me. But when I turned, nothing was there. The air felt colder, like a sudden chill had passed." Others have seen the ghostly silhouette of a driver dressed in period attire, urging invisible horses onward. The carriage is said to race along the Serpentine's edge, vanishing suddenly as it crosses the bridge. Some believe the phantom is a restless spirit, doomed to relive the crash night after night. Others say it's a warning, a reminder of the dangers that once lurked even in the heart of London. More than a ghost story, the phantom carriage is part of Hyde Park's rich tapestry, a whisper from the past that lingers in the night air, waiting for those willing to listen. So next time you find yourself wandering Hyde Park after dark, pay attention. You might just hear the echo of hooves behind you, but see nothing at all. If these haunted parks gave you a chill, please like and subscribe to Creepy Experience for more spooky tales. Got a strange experience of your own? Share it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.